Okay, video, so say your name so everybody knows.
I'm James Holloway.
And I'm your wife. Oh, Francie Campbell.
And we are at the 40th reunion of UYM at the Pawn Shop Room at the Livermore Church in Livermore.
Cool. All right, Janet. Say your name and stuff. I'll post some of this stuff.
Janet Collins Dennison.
Gotta have the middle one in there. Say your name.
Hey, Kathy Graves.
Dave Dennison. Janet Soder.
The slave.
Cheers.
Say your name.
Oh, Leslie Dale.
And you're the little sister still?
I am still a little sister. I will be a little sister all my life.
Okay.
Hi, Jan McDonald. Chose.
Yes. I wonder if anybody has the same. Ready?
Becky Moore, 454 Stanford Court, Livermore, California, 94550.
You still in Livermore?
Yeah, I cut him in half. Not me, my mom.
Oh, okay. Come on, say your name. Who are you?
Linda.
Linda what?
Oh, you're videoing.
I'm videoing. I'm gonna call
Linda
her.
Freya.
Yeah. Just say your name.
I'm Carlin Astor Carnahan. Is that it?
Yes. Well, say your name. No. Well. We're going to do one at a time. So, say your name.
Bill Nebo.
So people may not recognize some of them, right?
Well, I was
Well, go ahead if you want to say some more. Go
I
ahead.
was a youth group leader, and
Say your name.
Diane Steinhaus.
Yeah, this is not a...
October 3rd.
2015. Where was everybody else? Hey, you missed a great party.
40 years.
I don't know if it's American or Russian. In canoes, famous canoe trips, there was Selden was up ahead in a canoe with somebody, and there was this big tree up front with a huge branch across, and Jim was back behind, and this was you, right?
In a canoe,
In
yeah.
a canoe later, and you yelled out front to Selden, "Duck!" And Selden stands up and turns around and says, "Where?" And gets whacked by the tree.
That's exactly how I remember it.
And I don't know, did he fall out of the canoe?
Yeah.
canoe tipped over. Yeah. Took the advisors with him. That's how I heard it.
It just sounds so funny now, but how awful was that?
I think we have.
I'm not making that up.
How about the Russian River trip, where it may have been the same trip, or I think we did a couple, but there was a tree kind of hanging.
It was just kind of magic. Like I was trapped and all of a sudden, boing.
It's not your time.
Yeah, but it was, people had kind of gone around the bend, maybe you had, and were very scared.
Yeah, no,
So it was a real thing.
And you
It was
remember that?
it was more than one kayak. It was several
Yeah.
that tied together. We made a big raft.
Yeah.
We had told you, don't tie your kayaks together because the river will make things tighter and you can't get them apart easily. And the river's flowing faster than you think because you're in the middle. It's a big river. And it's very cold. And just like everything else.
Why?
That's right. Well, the first crash had already happened. We forgot what we told these two guys not. Oh, we told you tie everything in. That was what we did. And two guys took right off, went over in a whirlpool, and all we could see was them going round and round and round, and all their stuff floating down the river. And at least that convinced everybody to tie your stuff in. But the other thing we said was make sure nothing is flapping, because if you flip over, it will go like that and catch you and hold you under. So tie everything in. Oh, you know. So people had loosened things up. They tied their kayaks together, their canoes. And they were spinning down the river, just having a good time. And the Highway 5 bridge at Anderson appeared. And somebody said, "Let's get loose. Here comes the bridge." Well, everything was too tight. And thinking in terms of movies people had seen, they said, "Let's cut them loose. Who's got a knife?" "I don't have a knife. Do you?" In the movies they do.
Should we go to the left? Should we go to the right?
That's right. There's a paddle left. And then
Each boat was probably going each direction.
we lost two canoes completely. I knew about it because I was at the police station trying to arrange for staying at Anderson, and the call came in. There are canoes down at the Anderson Bridge, and there are bodies in the water.
And you're going, those are my kids.
But that was true. That was
So
all
I
true.
leaped into the police car. We all went. Randy Jennings and I got on the bridge, and I could see something floating. Looked like a body. It turned out it was a sleeping bag, and it was your
Bill.
stuff that was floating on the river. So then we started to find the survivors, and we got the story from everybody. And Jim was the one who had gone out, and his luggage had done that with him and held him. So that night, Jan and I had a little talk about that's something that happens when truly you look like you're about to walk across into the next dimension. That he had that experience, and it shook him, and in not a bad way, but he needed to talk, and others needed to talk too because they were scared, but part of it was very, very cold water, and from then on, everybody did what we said. But it was a memorable trip.
When I came up, the canoe that was there that rescued me was Charlene and Earl Carrot.
Right.
And Charlene was flipped out. Her hands were shaking, and she, in retrospect, I feel sorry for her because she was
Very
so
frightening.
scary.
Very frightening because 2 canoes just went right down the wall, and so we had to spread you out, and we knew we could have lost somebody.
And the canoes, at least one got left. It could not be removed, and
Two.
some of the stuff was still probably tied. We could not get them
Yeah,
off the
was my
bridge.
brother
I got
in
my
that?
duffel bag back like
So
a
I
week
just remember
later.
him talking about a canoe wrapping around the body.
He probably was in that one. There's a whole bunch to do this trip. In fact, do you remember? Let's see. I went with 2 ninth graders, and one of the Schaff boys. And I'd been canoeing before, and I got in. I felt the water, and thought, I'm not going over this. And told them, if you can't steer so we don't flip, I'm steering. And they said, oh, fine, you steer. So that's how I kept from flipping, because it was so cold. And Earl Carrot had a shortcut he wanted you to take. And I did not like what I call canoe clouds. I mean, everybody gets close together. Yeah. It's friendly, but that's how you flipped over. You'd be talking, and said, whoa, flip, and over you'd go, and we'd fish you out of the water. So I made us hang back, and Earl took you into this little side stream, and I saw you all disappear into it. And I came with Schaff and his buddy around the corner, and as soon as it came around the corner, the velocity picked up about tenfold, and we went thundering through this little stream. And as I came around the corner, most of UIM was in the water, or about to be. People were screaming and yelling, and Earl and his wife were hanging on to the branch of a tree. He had a little hat on. I was yelling at Earl and said, I thought this was a calm little stream. And he's hanging on saying, well, you know those calm streams, they'll kill you sometimes. And we go shooting down past everybody, and there was one canoe ahead of us that was spinning, and we missed them, and so we ended up having to continue. And as we were going, all the trees were close by, and you all knew it because either you came down swimming or hanging on to something. But that's how UIM came down, one at a time, boat upside down, somebody hanging on, somebody with nothing on, a hat, a wallet, just all this stuff flushing out the other end. There was one place where a tree had fallen across the river, and my bunch thought it was a waterfall. And because they started screaming in their little 9th grade voices, waterfall! So we were trying to back the kayak down. Whoa, waterfall! And I realized it can't be a waterfall. So I had them sit down. I stood up, and it was a log. So you just got real fast. You could go over the log. So everybody had to bump that log and get over. And so it was this exciting flush of everybody and all their stuff down this river, and waiting for young UIM to show up one at a time at the end of that. And this was before the Anderson Bridge debacle. Yeah, so it was quite a trip. I think we did 3 days on the river.
Sorry I missed it. It's hard to imagine parents allowing their kids to go on. I mean, I have so many San Francisco-related memories with this group, and I'm sure they're all bunched together. But you were saying earlier, you were talking about one where you took the group there for a week to teach us how to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure that was us?
It was Urban Survival.
Urban Survival.
Yeah, that was your.
Yeah, I remember that because
You
you
and
put us
Fuzzy.
out on a street and we had to walk down the street in a way, by ourselves, in a way that would project confidence and that leave me alone, and what to look for in somebody who might be threatening. I remember that. I remember walking down that street going, I don't know, can I do this? Can I do this?
Oh, kind of
I mean,
teaching
it was part of the
children.
assertiveness training. I think it was all kind of wrapped around that same year where we did the assertiveness training.
So that was our last year,
No, that was
junior year?
Can't remember what
sophomore or
year.
junior
We did two-
year.
we did two of them. It was called Urban Survival.
Yeah, I remember that one.
It was
But one of the things we were remembering yesterday was, I think it was the weekend that we went for training before the day camp deal. And we all got on BART with our sleeping bag, our pillow, and our backpack of clothes and stuff. So we're all hampered like this, and we went BART down to the Embarcadero or someplace, and we got in a cable car and went to Chinatown, all on our own. And I was looking back amazed that, yeah, and then we had all this
on
stuff.
our own. As
There were no, as with
grown-ups?
kids, there were no adults with us. I
You
don't
didn't
remember
have to.
anything.
Those days you didn't have to.
Yeah.
I could tell you.
Yeah.
What were the guys? I remember driving over the Bay Bridge in the VW.
Mhm.
What did you call that?
The 8 van.
The 8 van.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting some of your San Francisco kids.
Oh, I
yeah.
remember that too.
A couple of, and then we all piled in their little sports car or something.
Yep.
Do you remember those guys? There was a couple of
Uh-huh.
guys.
I don't know who, I can't remember
Where
who
did
they
we
were.
go?
I can't remember particularly the one guy's name, but then he went on to Lewis and Clark Law School.
Yeah, that was Robert Tobias.
Okay.
And I remember there was a stairway up and there was a room called the upper room,
Right. St. Paul's.
which I then later found out, meant something.
Yeah.
Besides upstairs.
What does it mean?
That's a biblical reference.
Oh,
And one of the guys had, high school age, had bought a hearse, an old used hearse. And he said, oh, well, let's go to McDonald's or something. And we all piled in the hearse.
I do
And
remember
then
that.
somebody
That
said,
was
oh,
so
I don't
fun.
need to go. And I said, oh, go, make a memory. And then they said, oh, okay, I'll go. And off we went. Now I
Yes.
remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, and Sarah Dimmick pretended she was a dead person, clawing the glass.
I don't remember that, but that's great.
That's Sarah Dimmick.
Now she's in Santa Rosa. Connected on Facebook.
One of my favorite memories is your 30th. Several of us got into your office and we decorated it, and then we very carefully turned the file cabinet around and then put everything on top the way it was before, and turned your desk around and moved everything so it looked normal, and took books and other things and just kind of switched them. And so everything, I think for weeks you were growling at us that you found something else that was out of place.
That's
And
Of
we
course, we
went,
didn't put it back.
no, we left it for him to find
Oh, I
and
had to
deal with.
redo it all. Yeah, it was quite clever. It really was. Very, very clever. I
Filled the
appreciate the
room
clever.
with balloons and streamers and
Yes, I have pictures
signs.
of that
Which
still.
way? One way, that way, no way.
There was a 50th here that was far different. I don't know if the church really knows how it looked to me, but they had planned it when I was off, so it'd be a surprise. What they didn't know was I had this history in San Francisco with the Hells Angels. There was a woman connected to my congregation, to remember, who was into drugs and into thievery. And her dad and mom had me working with her, trying to help her survive. She eventually overdosed, years later died. She never got out of it. But at one stage, she had made a drug deal with the Hells Angels and had burned them, and was in danger of them coming to collect. And she was convinced they were going to connect more than just the money. It was going to be her life. She called me up, and she was a little high, and all she was doing was rattling. And so I got in the car, and I went and I picked her up, and she was armed when I got there, and told her, you know, unload that thing and get in the car. And so I got her out of town, got her on a plane and got her out of town until everything got cooler. But the Hells Angels lost their money, lost her. But I was part of getting rid of her. I was really tired of the whole seedy thing. Tired of the Hells Angels, tired of it. Because over there, if you dealt with it, you found out a lot. It's just seedy. And so when I came here, that's all part of my past. Livermore's so different. So they had this celebration, and they called me up to get me to come here because I was on my day out sitting down with my shorts having a nice cup of coffee, and they called me up. And Dennis, the choir director, said, "We need you to come down here." And I said, "What for?" He said, "We're having our fellowship hall time. There's a man here who demands to see you." I said, "What's he like, Dennis?" Well, Dennis said, "Well, he's kind of a gruff-looking guy. What kind of gang guy? He'll only talk to you." And I thought, it's one of those Hells Angels. And I was so mad. I didn't like them. I didn't like what they did. I thought, they come here and make trouble in my parish, I'll kill them. And I was mad. And so by the time I hit the door, Dennis could just see the smoke and thought, whoa. As I said, people later said, man, he was on a mission. And I thought, all I said was, show me where he is. I just thought, I'm kicking his butt out of here. And come to my parish. And well, it was the old San Francisco days. You're different there. You had to be. And so I was steaming, and I came in the doors off of the courtyard, and people had put a red carpet out, and they were all gathered around it, and as soon as I opened the door, they were all screaming, "Surprise!" This red carpet looked like a pool of blood to me. I thought, my brain said, my parish has just killed this man, and it's blood, and now they're saying, "Surprise!" And I thought I knew you people. They have no, and it was just like that. Then I realized, oh, it was just a trick. But I could imagine what was going through my brain, thinking, oh, why these people just killed us? They're older than me, so they're all retired. And
I think Facebook helps.
yes, Facebook does. Facebook.
Because you can reconnect and
It's really.
Put that in front of my face, huh?